Alrighty, folks, the housing market is continuing to evolve. In the last 7 days or so, we've got economic data, new home sales, blowout number, existing home sales, blowout, pending home sales this morning, blowout. But what does all of that mean? Have interest rate fallen enough to generate demand, or have sellers finally figured it out that it's time to discount? Cody, you are in the market all the time. I am curious, what are you seeing out there?
I'm definitely seeing prices come down. And for context, I'm looking in the small commercial multifamily space. So I'm talking sixplex up to probably 40 units.
Okay.
And my sample size right now, the stuff I'm looking at, I'm seeing a 14 unit, seeing a 20 unit, a 9, stuff in that range. And people are starting to come to terms that they can't get what they could have. Even a buddy of mine, he's selling a couple duplexes right now, and he's going to be at about 375, 370 a unit or per duplex. And I was selling them for 400 a couple of years ago. So it's really interesting, and theirs are nicer than the ones I sold a couple of years ago. Nice. So people are coming to terms with if they want to move, they got to lower the price.
I think that's a very interesting thing to talk about, because again, I think for the longest time, the housing market, again, singles all the way up to the smaller commercial stuff you're looking at, we've had a bunch of what I'll call wish pricing. And what we're starting to see now is wish pricing is kind of coming to an end. And it comes to an end in one of two ways. One way is the seller just pulls it off the market. We've seen record cancellations, right? Record expireds. And that's just a seller that's not motivated. But on the other side of that is some sellers are motivated. And what they're now realizing after 100 days or 200 days, or heaven forbid, 300 days, the only chance they've got is to lower their price. They probably haven't had somebody look at their unit in a while because it's been tagged as old or outdated or whatever. And yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, buyers markets are amazing because sellers are the ones that have to react. And the best thing they could do is cut prices. So I'm glad you're starting to see that.
Well, and another topic on that, I'm seeing this consistently, where properties are appraising for a value in this made up figure, let's say $1 million. And consistently that $1 million appraisal is going to sell between 900 and 950. And so from a bankability perspective, if you're a buy and hold, you're trying to do a cash out refinance or rate and term, it looks like you have a phenomenal loan to value, but it's the appraisals may indicate the value, but people's sentiment on where stuff is at, they're undercutting those, even though they know, hey, look, it's worth this based on market averages. We're still going to come in just below, whether it's 10% or 15%, whatever the number is.
Well, that is certainly a lot healthier than where we were 3 years ago, Cody. You remember 3 years ago, you would go into contract, I don't know, let's use $1 million, like you said, but the appraiser comes in at 900. What we were seeing 3 years ago is the buyer would have to cough up the extra 100K to make that deal close. Now it seems like it's the other way, where the seller's not getting full value, but that's what happens in a buyer's market.
Yeah, and something I actually just got introduced to this last week, something I didn't even know you could do to help put a deal together when people don't want to lower their price, but it appraises. On an FHA loan, the seller can finance the second mortgage at a lower rate than the bank rate to get the debt coverage. And I think it's debt to income, not debt coverage, but they can get that debt to income in place by doing like a 10-year note at a really nominal rate because it lowers the collective payment. I didn't know that until recently.
Yeah, you can call that, I call that the blended interest rate. Again, a lot of deals can get put together if the seller has a significant equity. We actually have a lender that's on this channel all the time called Velocity Mortgage, Stephen Dow. He does the 50-40-10. What that is, for folks that may not know, is Velocity comes in for 50%. Let's call it at 8%. I'm just making these numbers up. 8% for 50%. Then you get the seller to take back 40% of the deal. And you could do that at 1.5%, 2%. Again, to your point, below the first. And then all you got to do is come in with 10%. So again, you could buy 12 unit, 40 unit, assuming the seller has enough equity. And then what you do in that situation is you get a lot of leverage, 90% leverage. You get a combined interest rate, 8 on the first, 2 on the second. That's probably in the 5s. And the first is 30-year fixed, and maybe you get a 10-year fixed on the second with a balloon after 10. So creativity and leverage is really, it's a better tool in a buyer's market like today.
Well, and it's even more interesting with FHA because you can go up to 96.5% leverage.
On
And
owner
you can have
occupied.
on owner occupied, someone could go
Right.
buy a fourplex and have the seller finance 20% of the purchase
Nice.
price. And you still have to put your 3.5% down, but that fifth of the purchase could be at a really low rate.
Yeah.
There's some rules on that, but it can open up the opportunity to actually cash flow again, like you used to be able to do with fourplexes owner occupied.
Yeah. So the key there, folks, is in my opinion, you got to find a listing that's been on the market a long time, right? They got to have some pain, and nothing like 100 days on market or whatever's abnormal for your market. They got to have a bunch of equity because they got to be able to say yes. If they got no equity, this doesn't play. But yeah, you need to get creative. And sometimes that's a first and a second. I remember it was the third deal we did on Ferris way back in like 02 or 03. I only had 10%, and we got a conventional loan, and the seller had to kick in 10% and put it in as a second. So these have been around for a long time. We just got lazy and we didn't think about them because it was the go-go times of the early 2020s. But yeah, folks, get creative. Learn seller financing first, seconds. It's all out there, and if you do it right, you get lower payments and better equity positions.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And take advantage of it now because the market will change.
Yes.
People will get their confidence back. I haven't experienced it firsthand yet because I haven't been in it for a 10-year cycle. But what I've heard is people just seem to forget the bad times or the good times. It's always going to be bad or it's always going to be good. And there is
I
an
actually
in-between.
Yeah, I actually have a saying on this, and I haven't said it in a while, but I'll put it on here. Is people have 10-year memories, and real estate's a 12-year cycle. So everybody forgets. Everybody forgets the high or the low, and they don't see the train coming before it runs them over. So, versions of that are certainly true. But at the end of the day, we are in a buyer's market in a lot of the country. And how do you know that? Longer days on market, more motivated sellers, more open to flexibility, more open to seconds, more people taking pricing discounts, record cancellations or expireds. These are all signs of a buyer's market. And if you don't pay attention, it will be gone in a heartbeat. I've been doing this nearly 30 years. This is my third buyer's market, and they don't last long.
Yeah. Well, I'm just glad to be in it. I mean, you don't want to be on the sidelines.
Yes.
At any point in the cycle, but especially right now, it's a good
Well,
time.
give me a flavor of some discounts or some creativity you're looking at. Give us a deal that you're playing with right now. What kind of discount did the seller take off original list price?
Well, the most recent was 35.5% off the list price.
Wow.
So that was wonderful. Another spin off of things that I'm looking at doing. There's a few side-by-side duplexes that have a seller note, and the seller note is worth the value of two of the duplexes. And so basically the structure on that is we're going to cash them out and get a conventional loan to buy one, and then move 100% of the seller note over to the other two. And so I only have to come up with, a conventional loan down payment for one duplex, and I get the equivalent of all three. Yeah.
Genius. Again, folks, in a buyer's market, again, we're in a market where sellers are taking discounts and getting more creativity. You've got to be more creative. It's about moving the pieces: price, down payment, interest rate, term, balloon. All of these things can be played around with. There's so much creativity allowed in real estate. It's just not all pay list price conventional. You can do lots of more flexible things.
Yeah, it just comes down to creativity. And I found most of my creativity comes when I'm in a pinch. Unfortunately, that's how it seems to be working. So, so as you get a little bit more established, you may not have to be as creative, but if you can get established and still be creative, that's where you're going to have a lot of fun.
There you go. There you go. Well, you are doing something amazing in the ORAT school community. You are running the Saturday Gen Z Plus accountability group. It's been going a month or two now. How's it going?
Pretty good. Yeah, we're getting a lot more than just Gen Z. So
Awesome.
We have some folks that are jumping in that are a little bit older than me, and that's been good because you get a lot of different perspective. I mean, I have my own perspective, and I've done a lot, but there's also a lot more to do. And so it's really nice having that sounding board in there. And we usually have 10 to 15 people in there,
Nice.
and sometimes more, sometimes less. So yeah, it's been really good.
Yeah, again, I love the fact that you're willing to do that, give up an hour or so of your day on Saturday for the community. Folks, if you ever wanted to ask Cody a question, no cheaper way than going to school. $20 a month, 67 pennies a day. We've got nine accountability groups. Find the one that matches your time and your interest. And Cody, of course, goes Saturday mornings. Give us your closing thoughts, Cody, and we'll wrap it up.
You got to map out your pieces and play the best cards you can. You have what you have. It's going to be different than what I've got, different than what Mike's got. But you got to play what you've got in front of you to the best of your ability and what you're seeing. And right now, there's a lot more opportunity. So there's a lot less reason to sit on the sidelines. That's my 2 cents.
I love it, Cody. You're amazing. Take care. And what's your YouTube channel?
Cody Davis Business Adventures. I post every Tuesday, Thursday, and now I post these videos once every Saturday.
Nice. I appreciate you, family. Take care. Have a great day.
You too.